Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. It is the day of the sun. We are in the waning crescent moon, Gemini season, the Celtic tree month of Hawthorn, deer season, and Pluto retrograde. Oh, and by the way, I seem to be suffering with a little bit of congestion this morning, so if my voice sounds a little funny or I'm slurring on words, well, that's unfortunately why. So thank you, as always, for showing me patience and bearing with me. Now, the details of today's astrology. The sun, of course, is in Gemini, mutable air representing communication. The moon is fourth quarter Aries, cardinal fire, representing energy. At 5:04 p.m. Central Time, it goes void of course. Mercury is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing practicality. Venus is in Gemini, mutable air, representing the spendthrift. Mars is in Aries, cardinal fire, representing initiative. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, representing questing. Saturn is in Pisces, mutable air, representing nostalgia. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing renovation. Neptune is in Pisces, mutable water, representing imagination. And Pluto is retrograding Aquarius, fixed air, meaning we need to examine our intentions and remember the Pluto retrograde mantra: reflect, heal, and evolve. Now for the moon phase, that waning crescent, waning, help. So remember to rest, to reflect, and to purge. Get rid of anything that really needs getting rid of, whether it's clutter around your house, some paperwork around your desk that probably ought to have been sorted out long ago, any kind of trouble spots in your home, or just, the energy of your house in general. If it doesn't belong in your life, get rid of it. Now for the void moon, this is an opportunity to relax, to meditate, to do some yoga. Some things to avoid would be any kind of spell work, any kind of rituals, just because you're not really you're not really going to get very much done when the moon goes void on us. It's also not a good time to start projects or engage in any kind of business dealings. And I hope you're not in the line of work where you're actually doing business on a Sunday evening. That would really suck. So hopefully, that's one situation that won't arise for this occasion. Now, on this day of the sun, take advantage of the energies of Gemini and Aries by really throwing yourself into projects before we hit that void moon. The time to relax will come when the moon does go void, of course, and then once it does, maybe consider going to bed a little bit early just to have a good start for Monday. It's been an eventful few days. I think a lot of people are pretty shell-shocked or a bit thrown for a loop, so getting a little extra rest, that's not a bad thing. It helps you recover physically, it helps you recover mentally, and it just makes you in a better position to face whatever comes on Monday. Now, our tarot of the day, we have the Queen of Mirrors, called the Watcher. She represents being contemplative, intuitive, and very mystic. This is that very emotional, receptive, got the feelers out there kind of feminine energy. And it's coming from a place of maturity and authority, which is what the Queen, of course, represents. So when you are holding the mirror up to your own soul, what is it that you are seeing? When you are put in the position of the Queen of Mirrors, when you are the Watcher, how do you evaluate your thoughts, your speech, your conduct, your general dealings, your responses that you have to people and events? Are you coming up to snuff, or do you think that, maybe you could have handled things a bit differently? Or now that, perhaps a moment has passed, you've had time to cool off, and you think, that probably didn't leave a very good impression in the minds of people for whom I have respect. And, and while it is important to be able to act on your own independent judgment, if you completely leave other human beings out of the equation, I mean, that's really is a pathway to becoming a truly insufferable human being. And unfortunately, all too often, we do see people choosing to go that route to their own detriment, and and you can't do a thing with them. So taking a moment to realize that our opinion is not the only one that exists in the universe, and that there's a time to perhaps temper our behavior, and that perhaps sometimes that is actually ultimately more beneficial to our own goals and to our own character. And looking past the end of our own nose, this is some of the things that the Queen of Mirrors is asking us just to reflect on. Now, today's Celtic triad, it reads: there are three beauties of a land: the granary, the smithy, and the school. So the granary, that's essentially food stores, a silo. If you live in a rural area, you already know all about this. And it's a symbol of agricultural productivity. Without, good agriculture, successful farming, animal husbandry, people won't eat. You're not going to have a civilization, and things are going to get really bad really, really quick. So it is a beautiful thing to see these things when they are operating as they should, or when people are able to overcome obstacles, because in farming, you're battling the weather, you're battling a myriad of other things, and including to all of the red tape that people seem to think is necessary for farms these days. There's a lot going on. So when you see signs of success, it's a reassurance as well as something that's beautiful. And then the smithy. Well, of course, this would have referred to back in the day, the blacksmiths. And as a metaphor, it really represents any kind of industry. If you're making goods, if you're providing services, whatever it is that you have to trade, whatever it is that you do in order to earn a living, and that you were able to do so successfully, that is a beauty of the land, because it means that you're able to take care of yourself. Your neighbors are able to take care of yourself. You know, if there was a lot more focus upon economic stability and allowing people, to go about their business, their proper lawful business, we probably would not be experiencing some of the hardships that we are experiencing right now. Because unfortunately, the first two beauties of the land that we see, they are severely compromised. I don't know if you heard about it, but recently there was another um, fire. I think it was at a chicken processing plant or something of that sort. But there's been a lot of fires in different forms of food processing plants lately, and this has been going on for the past couple of years. And even a few years ago, I was a part of a live stream that discussed it, and wasn't able to find figures on how often this was going on, which I thought that's very strange. It seems like the kind of thing that would be worthy of keeping track of. So it is worrisome that that's just happening, and we're just not supposed to notice. That's not a good sign. Our economic difficulties aren't a good sign. We're being deprived of these two main beauties. And then we come to the last one, the school. Now, ideally, the school should be just the pinnacle of education. It should be something that is designed to inform and to train young minds in the art of how to think, not what to think, not who to vote for, but the process of thinking itself, how to evaluate information, how to discover information, how to perform research, things of that sort. That is something that would bring a community and a country into good repute. But you know what schools are these days. It is about indoctrination. It is about telling children what you're supposed to think. Here are your prepackaged opinions, and we expect you to go out and vote the way you do, way we want you to once you come of age. That is essentially what school has been reduced to, as well as political activism, all very one-sided, social activism, all very one-sided, with absolutely no diversity of thought whatsoever, or even the ability to examine, well, if this is the opinion, well, why is that opinion coming to be? You're not even allowed to ask the questions. It's a kind of indoctrination that we really haven't seen as a society since, well, since the Christian takeover in Europe, when it was also that here's your prepackaged opinions that are approved and you must accept or else. It is exactly that same kind of process, which is why it's troubling for so many people. And it should be troubling for people of all religions and all political persuasions. It is very sad to look at this triad and realize that right now our country does not display these beauties, not because it's incapable, but because people have been making a long series of really bad decisions, and there are terrible consequences, and we'll just have to wade our way through them. Now, on a brighter note, today's magical intention is consciousness. The color for that is gold. The plant is the marjoram. It's a special kind of herb, kind of peppy. The animal is the groundhog, and that relates specifically to the deep exploration of consciousness, and the crystal is citrine. So the question I asked with this is your consciousness expanding or is it contracting? Now, depending upon what's going on in your life, what stage of things you're in, there could be a good reason for why you're either expanding or contracting. Sometimes you do need a very narrow focus in order to do what you need to be doing. And sometimes that would make you too rigid. And so you need to expand back out. So you're able to take in a broader spectrum of information. And depending on what's happening with you, and this applies to any area of your life, your profession, your family, your marriage, your friends, your social structure, your your work. I mean, your spiritual explorations. This can apply to any facet of your life, even learning a new hobby. I mean, it even applies to that. There are going to be times when you're soaking in everything like a sponge, and then there's going to be times where you're squeezing things out and just trying to get it down to the essentials. So it really depends. And it also has a lot to do with your temperament. Some people are going to spend more time expanding just because perhaps they have a greater amount of natural curiosity. And some other people, they they're not necessarily interested in knowing a little bit about everything, but they want to know a couple of things really, really deeply. So if someone who's more of a generalist versus people who might be more inclined to be a specialist, that will also play into this, the degree to which you have this pulse of expansion and contraction in your consciousness. Now, for today's pagan practice, it's Sunday, so that's a good opportunity for us to honor solar deities. It's also a good chance for us to work on the root chakra. Now, this week I am posting, little cheat sheets that I found on Pinterest having to do with the root chakras and various other things. I'm trying to have a little bit more useful content on my Twitter. Now, if you're not on Twitter, do not join. I do not recommend that. So I'm not begging for followers or anything like that. But if you are already on Twitter and you do already follow me, just be aware that I'm trying to give us a little extra something. Twitter is pretty toxic right now. It's very focused on problems and all the things that are going wrong, and there's not a whole lot of discussion about how we can do to give ourselves a boost, how we can uplift ourselves, how we can face any challenges in the future with our heads held high and with courage. So I'm trying to do my little bit for what I can in my own little corner of Twitter to put a better vibe out there. So there's going to be things about various chakras depending upon the day. And for Sundays, I'm going to be posting things about the root chakra, because it's important to work on your foundation. The more upheaval there is that's going on around you, the more important it is for you to have a solid base within yourself. Because it is Sunday, and I also want to encourage people to, kind of take in a little bit more understanding of astrology bit by teeny bit. This would be a good day to learn something new about your sun sign. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It could be one little piece of information that you didn't know before, but if you learn something new about it, then that's good. It all adds up into the data banks. And then over time, as you learn more about your own personal individual signs, you will be able to start making better connections and also seeing how this energy works out in the wider world and not just within yourself. So, and by the way, if you don't know what signs your other planets are in, you can just go to do a little simple search for free astrological natal chart. You'll have a list of options for you to choose from. You put in some information. They tell you where everything is in your houses and all this and that, and then that's a good framework for you to start building up your own personal understanding of your personal astrology. Let's see. And then last today, not last, a second to last, cleanse the household. I really like using Palo Santo as an incense for cleansing the energy of the household. The reason for this being is that Palo Santo actually converts energy. It takes the baneful, it takes the stagnant, and it transforms it into something healthy and active and uplifting. And this is something that can be done even if you are not a practicing witch. And I do try to keep that in mind in my channel, because even though I would imagine a lot of people who watch are actually practicing witches, which is awesome, there's also people who aren't, or people who are at the very beginning of their journey. And so not everyone is going to have the same aptitude for energy manipulation as a fully trained witch, and they shouldn't have to. Not everyone is called to that. But by burning something like Palo Santo, it's almost a cheat because it's doing some of that work for you, and you're not having to push as much energy, out the door the way you are with other cleansing methods, which makes it more accessible for those who are in the pagan community but who don't practice magic. So just make a note of that. Now, lastly, make a list of manifestations of projective energy. And again, just very briefly, for those who might be new to their studies, projective energy is active energy. It's energy that is going forth. It is a progenitor. It's a creator. It is a catalyst. It is making other things happen. So by just looking around your life, in the natural world, your own personal self, and thinking about the kinds of energies that make things happen, not only will this help you recognize projective energy when you see it, but it also helps you realize that you have a lot more control over what energy you are putting out into the world than what you might otherwise think. And And in a time when a lot of people are feeling very frustrated and very helpless and just powerless, I think it can really bolster up your confidence and be extremely helpful just to be reminded that you do have tools. And all you need to do is to be a little bit more aware of the function of energy, and then to make decisions actively about what direction you want to go and put your efforts into that direction. That's one of the benefits of being pagan as opposed to a member of another religion, where they're just not thinking in these terms, but we are. So help yourself. Now, for our journal prompt, the question is where you live, immediately around you, what is the most plentiful flower at the beginning of summer, and what do you know about its magical properties? This is a fun little thing to study, and a little, a chance to add a little something to your notebook. The flowers that I chose a picture of are daylilies. They are getting ready to burst forth very, very quickly. They love the Missouri soil conditions. They love our climate, even, which is astonishing because it's not always very friendly. And the thing about daylilies is that, you can plant a little patch in your yard. And then about 5 years later, they have spread and you have lost control. And, there's a reason why they're a species that has naturalized itself. But because it's plentiful, not only does that mean, you can pick the flowers without and bring them in at least for a day and without feeling terribly guilty about it, but it also means that this is a magical resource. Now, this is more relevant to my witches out there, because if something is really plentiful, then you can get your own good personal supply, and dry it and save it, and for your own magical uses, and you're not having to be as careful, to not take too much or anything else, uh, just because it's there. There's plenty of it. You're not going to be, you're not going to be damaging any of the species that might be reliant upon the plant's nectar. You're not going to be damaging the plants themselves, and you'll still be able to have this good tool. So, learning more about what resources you have around you that are readily available, even if they aren't in common use, that can really help you have more security in your practice. And that will do it for today. We'll have another daily forecast tomorrow. And I guess I will see you guys next time. Bye.